Well, infertility is classically defined as 1 year of unprotected intercourse without the conceiving. It's changed a little bit based on newer knowledge, and now if a patient's over 37, we use 6 months as a cutoff. So 6 months of inability to conceive with unprotected intercourse is defined as infertility in that older age group.
Infertility is, again, the inability to achieve a pregnancy, but I think it should really include the inability to have a live delivery. Some people have recurrent pregnancy loss. They are able to get pregnant, but then they miscarry very early, and that should be considered as part of the infertility definition.
The percentage of couples that actually get treatment, who need it, is low. It's under 50%. Why is that?
I think fear of finding out the diagnosis. Saying, well, I think the reason they do it is they keep saying, well, next month, and, years go by and nothing's happened.
Fear of failure is the biggest problem that we have. And it's a natural human instinct. Nobody wants to fail.
The man's afraid that his virility will be challenged, or the woman's afraid that if she doesn't get pregnant, it's going to put a strain on the marriage, and they don't want to face the problem. And that's pretty much why. And that's why people quit. That's why people stop therapy. Mainly it's because of the emotional toll.
You feel, why me? What did I do? And most often, it's nothing you've done. It just is. Infertility is like any other disease. It just happens. There may be certain genetic or environmental factors that may increase the chances of infertility, but most of the time it just happens and we don't know why.
No one is going through this because there's something about them that's inadequate, or there's no great message here that you're not intended to be a parent because Mother Nature isn't cooperating this moment. Our bodies don't cooperate oftentimes with so many things that we desire.
And to be infertile in a fertile world is incredibly difficult. Everybody they know gets pregnant without trying. You turn on the TV, you walk down the street, you go to the mall, and all you see are pregnant women and young children. And so the stress of infertility is pervasive. You can't get away from it.
Most of us grow up with the presumption that we'll be able to have our own genetic offspring. Our own biological child, our own flesh and blood. We use these terms all the time. And if you never have to think about it, that's great, so you don't have that work to do. But if life intrudes and you do have to think about it, then you also have to be realistic that it means letting go of some of the dreams or fantasies.
Infertility is a life crisis, and it has all kinds of effects on individuals and couples. It's an assault physically. It's hard to navigate medically. You're making lots of decisions that you've never had to make before, and you're out of control with your life, which is, for many people, a new experience. They've planned everything. They have the house, they have the station wagon or whatever, and suddenly what they really want is not happening, and it doesn't matter how much effort they put into it. So that causes a real ripple effect into family and friends, and how you deal with it in the workplace, and how you cope with holidays. Self-esteem, it impacts spirituality.
I wouldn't wish infertility on my worst enemy. I really wouldn't. It was so painful. But bottom line, infertility gave me my children. Infertility gave me a person I like too. Learning to deal with loss. I think we learn a lot from our losses. We learn to become more empathic, and we learn to feel for people who are dealing with many different kinds of losses than we ourselves are feeling. And if we haven't experienced large loss in our lives, it's very hard for us to develop that empathy, I think.
So much of what we do is technique, technology, and treatment driven. But we do have to step back and remember that there's the human touch.
Bringing a family together, helping a family expand. I don't think there's many more meaningful events in a couple's life than building and growing their family. So I think we have an enormous impact on couples. Sometimes we get focused and immersed in the technicalities of what we do because it is somewhat complicated. But I think when you take a step back and look at this from 10,000 feet down, and you realize how many hundreds of couples over the years we've been fortunate enough to help, I think it makes you feel good at the end of the day.